Hi, everybody. Welcome to EdPuzzle Professional Development. We're going to talk about this great tool for making interactive videos. I'm Miranda Doyle, one of the district librarians.
And I'm Carrie Light, the other district librarian.
And let's talk about why we chose this tool to highlight. We have had great student and teacher feedback on EdPuzzle. When we had a student panel, two of them mentioned EdPuzzle as one of their favorite district distance learning activities. Students really enjoy having a way to interact with videos rather than passively watching them and maybe taking a quiz after the video. EdPuzzle allows you to put questions right into the video so that students pause, reflect on what they've just seen, and maybe answer a question or two, and then go on to watch the rest of the video with questions interspersed. So they enjoy that. Teachers also like the accountability in that you can require that students watch the whole video in order to answer the questions, rather than maybe just skipping ahead to try the questions without having seen the instructional material. The other great thing about it is teachers can access activities and videos from other districts or inside our own districts. So a grade level teammate or someone else that you can share videos easily with the questions embedded. I wanted to show you what students see after you make an EdPuzzle. You can have it assigned to them. And I went into this one, and as a student, I can see that there's a 12-minute video, but I can see where the questions fall. And you'll see that some of those questions look green and some are red because I've already viewed this and I have answered some wrong. So the red ones are questions that I missed. But as students go through, they watch a portion of the video, they get to your question, they answer the question, and it can be open-ended, it can be multiple choice or true and false. And then they're able to go on. So they can't skip questions. You can also set it so they need to watch the video and answer the question in order to progress. Also in the student view, here is one of the questions that comes up as part of this video. So I'm watching the video and I get to the question. This is a true and false question, and I need to answer that before I can go to the next question. Notice that I could also rewatch that portion of the video if I wasn't sure of the answer. Maybe I hadn't been paying attention or just needed to review it. I can rewatch and then answer the question and go on. As you can see here, you can also do multiple choice questions, so that is an option. I can answer an open-ended question, and these are questions that have to be graded by the teacher. So you would see if you asked a question that I said not sure, and I really should have rewatched that and tried to answer the question. So you'll be able to leave me feedback. And you can see that Carrie left me feedback asking me to rewatch that video. So when I finish the EdPuzzle, I keep it in my account so I could go back and see it. It was assigned to me through Google Classroom, so that's nice the way it integrates with Google Classroom. And then I can see how many I got correct and which ones I missed and any teacher feedback.
Okay, so why would you want to use EdPuzzle? So Miranda went over a lot of great features for the students, and really you can take any YouTube videos that you've made yourself, videos from your teammates, and you can make them interactive by adding notes, questions. There's even a voiceover feature. So you could introduce a video, you could have discussion questions in the middle, and so forth. EdPuzzle works really well with Google Classroom, and you can use it with younger students too. You would just give them a clickable link for them to open. So it's very user-friendly and doesn't take much time to get up to speed and start creating lessons.
Great. And you can register and use your district account and then verify your account if you'd like to try it out.
So this is the teacher view. This would be your content page of videos that you have been collecting for lessons. And you can see on the left-hand side, You have the option of grabbing videos that maybe your district has been curating for curriculum. In this particular case, I'm at Lake Grove Elementary School, and so maybe my teammates at Lake Grove have put in some videos. And then I can go out to popular video channels like Khan Academy or YouTube, or even EdPuzzle has a large amount of videos. And later on, you're going to see a teacher demo of how she goes out to gather videos. Then you can add these videos into your own content. You can use other teacher questions if you like, or you can create your own questions. And the other thing I like is you can duplicate videos if you need to differentiate. Maybe you send a set of students, the same video, but with different questions. So you could personalize it. And so on the page where you add questions, you can see on the left-hand side, it's a nice little timestamp or running record of where I've added in either a note or a question. And so I added a note to introduce this video and give the students something to pay attention to. The questions that you can insert are, like Miranda mentioned, you can do multiple choice or you can do open-ended. And when you assign these, when you open them up, you can also indicate what is the correct answer for multiple choice. So the students get immediate feedback. Like you noticed Miranda got a wrong answer. She would get feedback right away that the answer was correct or not. And obviously for open-ended, then as the teacher, you would go in and grade that. Down below the video there, you can see in the time frame where I've inserted those notes and questions. And then sharing is pretty simple. It will sync with your Google Classrooms. So if you have multiple Google Classrooms, you can choose the classroom that you need, and it will import all your student names. And then that's obviously where the kids can access their EdPuzzle link as well. And as I mentioned, for the younger kids, most likely you'll want to just do a shareable link. They wouldn't need a password. They could just open up the link to watch the video, and you would have their names on your EdPuzzle side of things. And the teachers at the end of our session here are going to demonstrate a little bit more about how they use the gradebook settings, but there are a couple great features. Obviously, you can set start dates and due dates that will sync up with Google Classroom. And as Miranda mentioned, if you see there are some controls there, I can prevent skipping. So students can't just go through the video very quickly without answering. I can also turn on closed caption. And then over on the right-hand side, that's just demonstrating where I can look at students' progress, and I can see maybe maybe somebody's not done watching yet, or in Miranda's case, she finished, and I can see her grade and when she watched it, when she turned it in.
Great. In just a minute, we'll turn this over to two teachers who are going to demonstrate how they use EdPuzzle in their actual classes for distance learning. So we'll have a science teacher and a social studies teacher. But just to wrap up, if you are having issues with students not watching your videos, let's say you're assigning a video and then doing a quiz using Google Forms or something else after the video, EdPuzzle is a great way to actually embed the questions in the video. So when students get the information they need, they can immediately respond, and you can see whether they're understanding that. And it is a way to make sure that they are watching the video before they're trying to respond. So now we're going to turn it over. We are going to say goodbye, and Kiki and Brittany will be showing you how they use EdPuzzle for their classes.
Hi there. So in middle school, I love EdPuzzle. I feel like I use it all the time to encourage students to stop and think and question what they're learning about while they're learning something. So you can see here that there are all sorts of popular channels that are available to import videos into EdPuzzle using any of those. And what I tend to do is I'll often search content. I usually know a little bit about what I want to teach, and I know which kinds of platforms usually work well. Like for science, Amoeba Sisters or Crash Course, which I know also works well in social studies, and so on. And so I might do my own research ahead of time on YouTube to find just the right video so I know exactly what I'm looking for. So for example, let's say I was doing social studies and I wanted to look up the 5 pillars of Islam, and I knew that the Crash Course video was really good. I would type in all those keywords and try to find my video already in here. Now, sometimes when I look, I don't see what I'm looking for. For example, none of these are the Crash Course. So I might choose to go to a popular channel like YouTube. And while I'm in YouTube, I'm going to take care of the word of, maybe that's causing an issue. Let's see. None of these look like the Crash Course video. Oh, there it is. So I can see that it's already been uploaded into EdPuzzle by someone else. And so I would sort of select it. You can just click on it and it will show me the video. Now, if I want to, I can search for this same video that's been already created by someone else. Or I can start from scratch knowing exactly what I want to teach my students and just start creating questions and places to pause for the students to record something that I want them to write down. For example, some notes I want them to take. So in this case, I might look down here and I can see that there are already 23,000 versions of this particular video right here on EdPuzzle. So what I can do is I can start by looking at what someone else has done. And if I like the way that teacher is addressing the concerns and questions that I want my kids to do in that video, and sometimes you get to know certain teachers' names on here, so you can kind of say, oh, I recognize that person. I always like their stuff. But most of the time, you don't know who these people are. So you can click on one of these, and it will simply show you where they put pauses and questions into their video. You can then manipulate this, edit it, and make it your own, or you can go back to your other version and start from scratch. So just so you guys know, when you're in EdPuzzle and you're searching, you can also search by school, which I find really useful because sometimes a teacher friend of mine teaching the same level as me will create the EdPuzzle, and then I need to find it so that I can then assign it and share it to my students. So I can click on my school name and it shows me every EdPuzzle currently being used at my school. And I can continue to scroll, or I can do a search, as you probably noticed at the top, to find something specific that I know I'm looking for. My own content is listed this way. And then if I look at curriculum, there's actually curated content for each level. So this can be very useful. And then if I look at my own classes, so up here you can see there are some toggles. I can click on gradebook, and this is an example of a gradebook that you would see. You can see that every student's interaction with each of these 3 EdPuzzles that I've assigned somewhat recently are listed here, along with the score they earned. If there were questions to answer, it would actually tell me how far they got. So for example, let's say we look at this one. I can simply click on it. It'll show me that this person got 100% through the video. They earned an 82%. There were a couple of questions that they got wrong on the multiple choice part, but 82 is pretty good. It also says that they answered 9 out of 11 questions correctly. So depending on what you have going on, you can use this with all sorts of different types of grading. Mostly I just use it for formative assessment so I can see which of the questions people are getting right and wrong and so on. There's other ways to look at this data if you're interested in data collection and how that all works for creating grades. You can actually go right here to export grade, and it will generate an Excel spreadsheet for you, which I find absolutely fantastic. So I'm just going to have this go to my desktop so you guys can see what that looks like. And we'll open that up. All right. So the Excel spreadsheet, it doesn't go into Google Sheets, but this is, to me, super easy to read and useful. It tells me all that same exact data just in a spreadsheet form. which for me, I know like some simple tricks so I can get this data pretty quickly into Synergy if my class list is accurate. And just in case you missed it, the class lists are actually completely linked to Google Classroom. So if you've got your kids all in a Google Classroom, it's really easy to import all of them in here and then assign them assignment work right from here into your Google Classroom. So that's how I use it. If you guys want to see an example of what my EdPuzzles end up looking like, this is a great example of how I use it. I get the kids to interact here. So at this point, the students are being told, you can see over here on the note side, to write the title down in their science journal. And then it tells them that they'll be asked to take notes. And then each time a student finishes with a task, they click continue to move on, and then the video will play. This particular drop spot is another note that asks them to take a note. So it's a spot that tells them to take a note. And then every now and then, one of these is a question, a multiple choice question that I'll ask the students to answer. And that's how I'm gaining my information for the grade that got generated. So here's an example of a question that I asked the students to answer. And they can rewatch the previous clip so that they can see what it was that was said in case they aren't sure how to answer the question, so they can kind of learn at their own pace. It's pretty awesome.
Hi, LOSD. My name is Brittany Larson, and I teach social studies at Lake Ridge High School, world history and AP European history. And I was asked to give you a quick demo of EdPuzzle and talk to you about how I use it in my classes and what my feedback and maybe student feedback is. So I'm going to show you a little bit about EdPuzzle today, how it works, etc. So the first thing is, if you just go to edpuzzle.com or you Google EdPuzzle, you'll get to this screen that you see. So you're going to click log in and say I'm a teacher, and then my stuff is already waiting there for me, but you can click the sign in with Google as long as you're signed in with your El Oswego G Suite account. So I'm going to pick that of my various accounts, and then it's going to pull me into my EdPuzzle account. So it automatically jumps us into the screen that says My Content. You can see that highlighted over there on the left. So this is showing all of the EdPuzzles that I've created and have stored in my content for my classes. So most of these you can see are crash courses from Crash Course European History, which was a new series that came out this year and was really helpful in my AP Euro class. And then I've got some other content from world history. And so I'll show you how all of those work in terms of creating content and assessing student performance and whatnot. But in general, I thought it'd be good to start with why the heck you should even use this platform. And EdPuzzle is great to me because it does a little bit of flipping the classroom, where there are, especially for AP Euro, these 12 to 15 minute crash course episodes that are invaluable because that particular series was designed to match the new redesigned AP Euro curriculum, and then had teachers that are on the AP Euro curriculum committee as part of the crash course committee, and they embedded all of these primary source documents and yada, yada, yada. So it's perfectly aligned. And it's John Green, who I know that students know and like for the most part. But it would take 12 to 15 minutes of showing time in class. And then, as any good teacher would do, you would want to talk about what they saw or picked up from the video, or stop it periodically and ask them questions or expound upon the content. And all of that takes up really valuable class time. And especially in a crazy fast-paced course with way too much content to cover anyways in the year, like AP Euro, it's hard for me to carve out enough time for that kind of thing. But in a mode like video that students are used to watching, this is the generation of social media video absorbing students, I wanted to be able to use this really great content, but not take away class time. And so EdPuzzles allow me to do that, because I can assign these EdPuzzles for homework or out of class work and allow students, a week or whatever it is, to access the content, to watch the video, to answer the embedded questions, and then use class time for other things, right? Like, an actual primary source article-based discussion or whatever it is, but it still allows me to get the video content delivered and ensure comprehension and understanding with some embedded quiz questions. Or it can really flip the classroom, because you could, as a teacher, take your own slides, for example, and a video that you made of your own slides, and embed voiceover content, embed questions like comprehension questions or analysis questions into the video, and assign it to students that way, and kind of put your lecturing and understanding lecture outside of the classroom too. So there's lots of opportunity with it. And then I have surveyed students. I've been using this tool for multiple years now, but pretty consistently for the last 2 to 3 years. And I've interviewed students in both AP Euro and World History, and then I interviewed them again, especially with this remote learning circumstances. And overwhelmingly, they love EdPuzzle, almost more than anything else. And I struggle with it a little bit because, unlike things like Flipgrid, for example, which are pretty active, the student has to present in the video, EdPuzzle's a little more passive because they're intaking the video information. But the fact that you can embed questions in it, and they can be either free response or multiple choice, just allows for a lot of opportunities to make sure they're understanding what they watch and not just sitting there and sort of drooling as they watch, right? Okay, so how it works is you have a video somewhere, and typically for this platform, it's going to need to be an internet-based video. So if you find something on, like, I don't know, pbs.org that's embedded straight in their site, and it's not in YouTube, for example, it's a little bit harder to do this. That's like an advanced EdPuzzle skill. But for general purposes, at least for first-time users, you're going to want to find a video that's on the internet. And if you see over here on the left, this popular channels piece, you can click on a variety of options. So TED Talks or Crash Course down here, Khan Academy. YouTube itself is searchable here in EdPuzzle. And so I'm just going to give you an example of a video that I used recently. And I actually have an existing EdPuzzle for it, but I'm going to show you kind of how I got there with it. So it's a Rick Steves Rise of Fascism in Europe special that he did for PBS, but is on YouTube. And typically it helps to search this on the regular web first and know exactly what you're looking for. So I know that this is the thumbnail I want, but certainly if I didn't and I needed to browse through these and see if they're what I want, I could. So I know that this special is 55 minutes and that this is the home screen for it. So this is the one I'm looking for. But again, you could browse from among content. You can also, if you see right here, EdPuzzle's trying to help you out and say, hey, look, if you add this Chrome extension, then you can just copy and paste YouTube videos directly into our search bar and find something. So one of the things I like about EdPuzzle is it's pretty user-friendly in the interface, ease of access and use. And they're trying to give you helpful tools and pointers like this one right here. But I know that this is the video I want, so I'm going to click on it. And then I have some options, and it's kind of frustrating because since I'm showing up in this screen down here, you can't see it. One sec, let me see if I can fix that. Yeah, so you are going to want to decide what you want to do with the video. Typically, I'd always choose edit first because I'm going to want to do something to the video, right? Typically, what I'm going to do is go straight to the questions option and pick the kind of question that I want to embed and where I want to embed it. So let's say the video is starting here, and I know
and 20
that
pages in. And this I would
in this excerpt, so I've watched this video many times. Rick Steves is interviewing a German historian about Mein Kampf, and Hitler's book and why it was banned in Germany, et cetera, et cetera. So let's say that I knew there was something right in this moment that they had just talked about, and I wanted to ensure that students understood what they were talking about and were paying attention. So I could choose a multiple choice question by clicking here, and I would type the question like, why was Mein Kampf banned, or why is Mein Kampf banned in Germany? And then I can type my different choices here. And so I'm not going to do, full effort questions right now, but let's say I type this stuff in, blah, 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 blah. And then I'm going to indicate which one is the correct answer. So I would click the check or unclick it now, and it's showing it's a wrong answer. And then let's say that I decide this one's correct. And I'm going to hit save, and it will have embedded that question right at that time marker spot. Let's say that I go to a new time marker spot.
Ancient Rome, and they proclaim the greatness of the leader and the.
And I want to know what Mussolini's fascism was based on, and why they, resurrected imagery from the Roman Empire in Mussolini's fascist Italy. So let's say I decide I want an open-ended question here, and I say something like, why did Mussolini use imagery and language from the ancient Roman Empire to support the growth of fascism, or something like that. Again, I'm certain in your own time and way you would embed thoughtful questions, which is an example. Okay, so I'm going to hit save, and then right in that spot, it's going to give students this free response question, and they are going to have to type a free response comment in the video there. I could also, if I wanted to, if I felt like the commentary in this particular part of the video wasn't something that I really wanted, and instead I wanted to record my own commentary or make my own points, I can do that a couple of different ways. So one, I can actually click the voiceover button, and
achievements of the fascist regime, military
so, right here, I could hit start recording, and I could actually record whatever it was that I wanted to say over this part, and it would replace the existing audio. So you can see that right here. So maybe it's because I'm recording it in a different language for our world languages teachers. Or maybe there's some extra insight that I want to add there. And it's going to actually replace the audio, right? So that's really important to know about the voiceover part. You're going to lose whatever audio is actually there. If you just want to add an extra note, like let's say I like the commentary in this video, but there is something else extra that I want to add for students, that's where I could go to the questions area and put note. And I can either add a written note here, and it will stop the video for students to look at that note. Or you can see right here, it'll say, and EdPuzzle prompts you for this, either enter your note here or click the microphone to record audio. And I could record audio here saying something like, interestingly, Mussolini's fascist Italy was the original model for fascism that Hitler copied and essentially put on steroids in Germany a few years later. But he watched Mussolini create the model based on invocation of the memory of national glory, blame of outsiders, focus on a cult of the leader mentality, etc. Okay, so I've added this extra note. I hit save. And then it's going to embed that note in the EdPuzzle. And again, it will require students to hear me say that right here, right? They have to play it before they can continue. So those are some of the options. If you wanted to cut out, I don't know, maybe opening credits at the beginning or a chunk of the video that you just felt wasn't relevant or necessary to your topic, you can do that. You can actually manipulate the length of the video and crop and cut it in the ways that you want to. So I've done that sometimes when there's really long credits or just kind of empty space at the end of a video, etc. Once you're done with all of those questions, it's saving automatically just like Google does, which is nice so you don't lose your work. But you're going to hit finish. And then you can see right here that I've got 2 questions. And at the end of a question is a note that's embedded there. And I've got the beginnings of an EdPuzzle. So then I would hit assign if I wanted to make one of my classes do this, or I could go back and edit it later. Maybe I wasn't finished answering my questions, etc. Okay, so I'm going to show you right here. If I hit assign, it's going to recognize, hey, you've got some classes existing in EdPuzzle. Which ones do you want to send it to? Do you want to like make a due date? Do you want to make a date to make it active? All of that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to pick a class right now because then it would actually assign it to my students, and I don't want them to see that demo one. But if I did, let's say I wanted it to start on Monday, June 8th at 8 a.m. So it's going to give me the option if I scroll down here. So let's say I pick, I don't like 8 a.m. And then I want it to be due on the 11th, and the default for the due time is 11:59. Great. I'm going to hit save. And then I want to make sure students can't skip around on the video. I can either have closed captions on or off for students that are ELL students, or sometimes students with processing disorders, etc. The closed captions are really helpful. So you can determine whether you want those on or off. Let's say I want them on. And then I would pick my class. And if I wanted to, if that's one of my Google Classroom classes, I can post it directly to Google Classroom. So the last thing that I was going to show you is how to create a class in here. So I'm going to go back to the home screen. You could actually do it here once you've set up a due date in a video, but just for ease for you, I think I'm going to go back to the regular screen. So I'm just going to go back to EdPuzzle Home. And if you look up at the top right, you will see where it says My Classes. So if you click on that, you can see I have several classes in here, my 2 AP Euros and then my 4 World Histories. And my AP Euros, I actually assigned an EdPuzzle even before I really had a Google Classroom for that class. So I kind of created it manually. So I hit add a new class, and then I can kind of design it on my own if I want to click create a new class. So I can name it and then choose the type. So let's say I'm going to say demo class 1. I want the classic type. I'm creating my class. And then I can invite students by either giving them a link, which is what I did for my AP Euro students at the beginning of the year. They just clicked the link and it automatically pulled them into the class and had them put their name into their account. If they have existing EdPuzzle accounts, which many of them probably will now, especially after remote learning, because a lot of teachers have been using it, you could just give them this code, and it's kind of like adding a class in Google Classroom. This is like adding an EdPuzzle class in their EdPuzzle account. Either will work. Honestly, the very easiest way to do it, I think, is, again, if we go down here to add new class and click Google Classroom, if you already have your classes set up in Google Classroom, it will, because you're signed in with Google, it can talk to Google Classroom, and it'll eventually, it's working right now. It takes a little while, but it'll pull up the classes in there and I can import them directly. So it's recognizing that I've already done that for my world history classes, which is why they have checks next to them, but I could click these other two and pull all those students straight into EdPuzzle that way. And there is a way to sync up your gradebook with it so that you can actually grade it in EdPuzzle and Google Classroom at the same time. I personally don't use grading in Google Classroom, or I haven't in the past. Depending on if we're in this remote learning reality in the future, I might use it then. But so I didn't do that step of syncing up my gradebooks just because I felt like it was one more thing that I didn't need to manage. So usually what I do when it comes to grading, and I'm going to get out of this screen here. So that was a general idea of how you would import classes in from Google Classroom or create your own class in EdPuzzle. But I'm going to get out of this by going to content. And I just wanted to show you really quickly what it looks like in terms of grading or responding to things. So I'm going to go to, my world history class, and you can see this was an EdPuzzle that I had them do like 2 weeks ago. And this is one that they're currently working on right now. So I'm going to click on it, and it's going to tell me I have 150 answers to grade. So I can click on that, and it's going to show me the free responses for the free response questions from students. So I have a couple of options of what I want to do with that. I could actually enter numbers over here and say like, yep, this is right, and it'll mark it as correct and give me the next one. I could, and this is often what I do, is briefly scroll through them, and unless there's something that's like glaringly wrong, I could say mark ungraded as correct. And it literally will go through and mark them all as correct for you. You can also make comments. So here, like this question was, what are the major distinctions between people included in civilian stats and people in military stat categories? And then this response, most military soldiers that were killed were men, is kind of partly there, but it doesn't answer things like age, etc. So I could write a comment directly to Brody and say, like, you answered part, but not all of the question. And then I could give him a new prompt. Right? Like I could ask him a follow-up question and hit comment, and then he would see that and he could respond to it directly in EdPuzzle. So I did that at the beginning of the year for a lot of my AP Euro students when I needed to give them more robust feedback. If it's a multiple choice question, EdPuzzle automatically grades it for you. So you don't even have to do any of this if it's all multiple choice questions or for the multiple choice questions in your assessment. So that's a little bit about how you can deal with what comes in from the student side. One of the other things that's nice is I can just scroll down here and it's going to tell me the students who have not started this at all. It's going to tell me the students who have started it and how much they've watched and how long ago they were active in it. So when I've had stuff doing remote learning after the due date, I just go into EdPuzzle and I can look, and anybody who's in this never attempted category, I'm marking as missing or partially done, might be like an incomplete, etc. Right? And all the green ones are done. So that is a very brief overview of EdPuzzle, but it is a really helpful tool that I have thoroughly enjoyed being able to use. Students have enjoyed having used with them, and I would really encourage you to try it out. It's really user-friendly, and to reach out to experts in your building if you are struggling with it, you're not sure how to do it, and to know who the experts are in your building. What's really nice is if you go to the content page and then you click on your school over here, which is something you indicate when you sign up, I can go and see Lake Ridge High School, and then I can see who's been making EdPuzzle videos in the Lake Ridge High School account. And so that would give me people in my staff group to talk to if I needed assistance. Like, hey, it looks like Janelle and Matt and Shane are pretty pro at this, and I can go seek them out as local experts. Or if I'm teaching the same thing as some of those people, I could actually click on that and duplicate it and use their EdPuzzle or modify their EdPuzzle. And it will allow you to find existing EdPuzzles out there in the world by teachers all over the place on all sorts of different topics. So you might have a lot of legwork done for you just in accessing this tool, right? You might not even have to build it from the ground up in terms of questions. You might be able to take Phala Jr.'s Archimedes principle questions and either use them wholesale, duplicate the whole thing, or modify and change a few questions and go from there. So seek out your local experts in your school if you need some assistance, or ask Miranda or Carrie. They're amazing, but this is a really cool tool and I love it, and I can't say enough good things about it. Okay, now I will shut up about it.